Hello, everyone. My name is Christy Blumendahl.
And my name is Rocco Catroni. And we are the Disability Tangent Podcast.
Each episode, we talk about current issues affecting communities while supporting people with disabilities.
Through research, community connections, and resource sharing, we hope to invite everybody to challenge their perceptions of people with disabilities and promote a more inclusive world.
Defined by what the people actually want and not what others think they want.
Come join us on this journey. Welcome, everybody. Today we have Nanni Presti with us, and I just kind of wanted to open up the floor to you, Nanni. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you, Rocco and Chrissy, and thank you for inviting me in this conversation. My name is Nanni Presti. As you said, I am located in Sicily, right in the middle of the Mediterranean. Now I am in Catania, which is one of the biggest towns of Sicily, just on the slope of Mount Etna. And I'm in a center, it's called ABA for Catania. It's part of a big national project. And it's a center that applies ABA intervention to autism in the broadest sense of ABA intervention. So we do also clinical work with elder people, adults or adolescents. I am a physician and I have a specialization in medical psychology. Doctors in Italy get their a general practitioner, let's say a general practitioner degree before going into a specialization, which is a little bit different from what happens in the state. I have studied behavior analysis and my background in psychology is behavior analysis. My research are focused on verbal behavior, relational frame theory, ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. I am also a peer review ACT trainer, and also I am now the president of SIAXA, which is the association, the professional association, Italian professional association of ABA therapists and behavior analysts. And also the president of ACT Italia. This is actually my commitment in the professional and scientific field.
Excellent. So you're fairly busy, is what it sounds like.
I am, really.
Yes, that is an impressive bio that you have there. As you were listing one thing and then the next thing, I was getting more and more tired.
Well, Christy, I am old, so it's my bio spans through more than 40 years now. So I'm close to the place where retirement calls me, and going to rest and read books is what I'm longing, and listening to good music is what I'm longing for.
That sounds wonderful. And you're not old, you're well-aged. It's perfect. Yeah, so I know that there's a lot of, differences in how the U.S. system works, especially with medical education, as you talked about previously. Can you tell me a little bit more about that path that you had starting more in like the medical field as a medical doctor and how you moved into working with people with disabilities?
Well, this is unusual also in Italy, and basically my choice was determined more than 44 years ago now by meeting two of the earlier behavior analysts in Italy, who were Ettore Caracciolo and Paolo Moderato, who is my mentor. And now Paolo is retired. At that time, I was around 17, 18, so I really didn't know what behavior analysis was at all. And I wanted to study psychology, so I was more attracted by psychology. And psychology in Italy has been for a very long time. And actually, even now, to tell the truth, psychology is identified and overlaps with psychoanalysis in Italy. So that was my dream at the time. So he suggested me another path, which is a very strange path, but it makes sense. And it's a path that goes from medicine to psychology. He was a medical doctor, and he came from a long tradition of medical doctor in psychology that go back. It's a very strange tradition, but goes back up to Agosotino Gemelli and the study of animal behavior and the animal lab. Nowadays, we have more than 44 or 45 something psychology schools in the university in Italy. So the usual path is going through psychology and then have a specialization, because to be a psychotherapist in Italy, you need to have a master's degree in psychology and then another 4 additional years of training.
That's amazing. And I know you published an article a number of years ago with Paolo as well, just kind of talking about the history of behavior analysis in Italy. And, from when you started with them and like trying to like build this up and kind of in that beginning with them as well and carrying on that tradition, what ways is it different today than it was back then, as far as like how services are achieved and what it looks like?
Another contribution to the Italian behavior analytic tradition came from Isaia Pessotti. Isaia Pessotti was a Brazilian psychologist who traveled from Brazil to Milan at the end of the 60s, and it was hosted at the University of Milan in Marcello Cesabianchi lab and group. So because of the military push at the mid-60s, some of them left Brazil, and one of these was Isaia Pessotti, who contributed to the birth of the group in Milan. At the beginning of the 70s, there was a big interest in that group with Ettore Caracciolo and Paolo Moderato for educational technology. So there were a number of conferences in which training based on behavior analytic models were introduced and started to be studied and applied in Italy. So at the mid-70s, that group moved to Messina, and that was the place where I met them. So this is more or less the place where we started and where the group started. That group had an explosion in the years. And unfortunately, at the end of between the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s, the group was dispersed in various parts of Italy. So there was a kind of seeding in other places, but the group was not strong enough to be heard. There was kind of reduction in behavior analytic studies, behavior analytic conferences, and so we lost a little bit of that kind of momentum. The things started again when Paolo moved to Parma, but more when he moved to Milan. So we rebuilt again the group. We built an association called IESCUM, which now is also a non-profit association. And also we started again rebuilding the connections. Paolo was granted an award for dissemination of ABA International by ABAI. At that point, it was ABA International ABAI, because of the activities we did. Actually, The first ABI international conference was held in Venice. Then we contributed in establishing the European Association, and now the things changed. 2011 or 2012, something like that. We were offering again courses in ABA, but outside the university. Has a kind of parallel path. So after you got your master degree, you could enter one of these courses. And we started to work with the board to have our course recognized by the board, and then have the exams in Italian. The Italian exam was the first exams to be approved and translated and approved by the course. And we also had the very first course sequence approved outside the US. And now the landscape has changed because there is more offer in ABA education here in Italy. ABA intervention were included in the national guidelines. So some things are difficult still to get. And of course, behavior analysis is not in the mainstream psychology. We have more than 100 universities, but just 5 or 6 in all the university system that can tell them, that can label themselves as behavior analysts. Outside the university field, it's growing. There is a lot of interest just because ABA-based intervention for autism are golden standard here in Italy. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I replied to your question or if this was
absolutely.
Yeah, so
you were looking for.
I feel like we should put a visual timeline.
I know. Yeah, it's fascinating to me too, because being in the United States, sometimes we get very United States focused. We kind of forget that the rest of the world exists. And so in my training, it's sort of been like, oh, here's how behavior analysis started. Here's where it went. Here's how it's going. But all of that has been like all American scientists. I never stopped to think about what was happening in the rest of the world, or that there were courses happening in Brazil, or that Brazilians were going to Italy and, collaborating there. So this is a really fascinating history. I think that, a lot of people listening will be really interested to hear some of that and know some of those names and be able to look at some of this. This is really, a great, primer, I guess, for us. I could sit and listen to an entire class, I think, of this information. This is really, really great. So talking about today and how, you're saying it's not as much connected to the universities because there's less availability of like being a professor in ABA, but you're saying like it still is the gold standard, especially in autism treatment. What are some of the things that you're focused on today in your own lab as far as, treatments and the development of technologies, and what kind of direction are you working on right now?
Okay. Well, my lab are based in behavior analysis and contextual behavioral science. So this is the root. And from this root, we have different branches because I do both. I want to follow the inclination of my students and my researcher, the people who collaborate with me. So there are, you are personal interest and personal inclination, and I want them to follow what they think is best for them. And on the other hand, sometimes I also have to respond to the direct contingencies of the environment I am living in. And third issue is that I am in a point of my career where I can do anything I love. So I have no pressure anymore in publication, no pressure anymore. So I what I love, I do. Generally speaking, we have a branch that looks at acceptance and commitment therapy. and the way we can apply it. So we are developing with other international teams, research teams, brief intervention that are RFT and act-based brief intervention. I also I do also research in some basic stuff behind acceptance and commitment therapy. I do collaboration with many different teams because it's interesting for me to also expand the connection, and also it's kind of promotion of behavioral analysis outside our boundaries, because usually behavioral analysts have limited themselves to talk in their small groups, and even if they think they are big and huge, it's a very small and limited group. And they love to talk outside the group. So I have collaboration with economists for behavioral economics themes. So we are working on waste prevention and waste management. I also have collaboration with lawmakers. And one of the biggest collaboration that I have is with the computer science department in my university and other university, and to work with technology. We are working in application of technology in different fields. So I've always been interested in application technology. Our first research on using computer with autistic people to teach simple discrimination was with the Commodore 64 that we were programming in the mid-80s. So it goes back to then. And now we are working with robots, social robots. We are working on a platform that helps us to do different kind of things, deliver directly ABA-based intervention with that platform, using the same platform to foster at-distance intervention, so kind of tele-ABA, and use also robots with that platforms integrated in telehealth and in delivering more rigorous ABA intervention. So my main idea focusing in working with technology is to raise the quality of ABA or any kind of intervention, because both ABA and psychotherapy intervention are human-based. So for me, the use of technology is to increase that quality. And I'm using also technology in ACT settings. We are studying the use of virtual reality to deliver ACT in the virtual environment, and the use also of apps for ACT, to deliver ACT at distance. So there is a number of things that we do in technology and in other fields.
I think that's fantastic, especially that integration of technology to not only just deliver it to people who might not be able to come in. I know in the past you've spoken on how there's a lot of families that are in like very rural areas that it's hard to get a therapist there, or there might not be someone in town, so they can still have this access piece. But what other ways can that technology help improve that type of accessibility and inclusion for the people with disabilities? Can you give us a couple other examples of things that you have done that have been really successful with the people you've worked with?
Rocco, the main issue is that quality of therapy is, as I told before, dependent from a clever and a well-trained therapist. But you also have to have well-trained supervisors. Data collection is important. So what we are trying to do is just to create a platform that can connect all these stakeholders in a way that it's easy and manageable, and that you can use this environment for everything. So we are trying to work also, and this is one of the projects we are doing. It's called the TESI, Technology-Enabled System for Intervention in Autism. And we are working on kind of a backbone that writes data from different sources, so that we can have a lifespan view of what is happening with this individual, and the way and to prevent loss of information. Because when, for example, it happens in Italy that when you simply change your teacher or special education teacher, it very often happens that you have a special education teacher in first elementary, and a different one in second, a different one in third. There is no continuity. It's very rare, because the way the system works in Italy is that teacher moves from one place to another. And all these issues are detrimental to any intervention with any kind of difficulties, and especially with autism. And so this is also something we are working with. And there is a need of having a kind of vision to approach this problem, because most of the things that I've seen in the field, and there are excellent examples in the field, are very narrow and oriented to only one or two things, but not look at the problem from this wide angle, which I think is necessary.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that people, at least in the US, and I've seen this abroad too, in some of the work we've done on collaborating with other professionals, sometimes there is that like super pinpointed, we are very good at this one particular thing, and not looking at that holistic view. And by not doing that, it perpetuates this people thinking behavior analysis is like the end all be all. And when you need to collaborate with other people, do you ever run into some of those pushbacks, either from the autistic community or from the community in general, for behavior analytic work? And then how do you navigate that situation?
Well, it's not easy to be a behavior analyst, because there is a lot of misperception. Some misperception are also founded. I mean, there are not misperception because they don't understand. It's because in our field, malpractice and false or mistaken interpretation or mistaken understanding of the principles have damaged the field. And one problem also, and let me be clear about this, because comes from the US model. The US model is a Taylorian one. Just remember, even if we have one century from Taylor and the car making, I think that the model is the same, still remain the same. So if you are mounting the front left wheel on the car, you are not doing the rear right wheel, and you are specialized in that. This is a typical US-based model. The model influences the intervention, and if you have a 40 hours training to implement behavioral intervention, it's quite an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite an issue. So some of the things that have happened nowadays, it's very easy to spread the voice all over the world. So we need to raise the quality of training, and it was recognized, this issue. And so ABA, for example, has approached this tiered system for the quality of training, but again, it's US-centered.
Fair.
It's the model behind that. It's the university model. For example, it cannot be applied to an international, to Italy. The issue is that we need to recognize that the principles of behavior are general, but the way you apply training and the way you apply the frame of the intervention should be local. Okay, this can raise the model, and this is what I have been talking with many people in Italy, because one of the issue is, for example, the famous 40 weekly hours of intervention. It makes sense on paper for the study purposes, but if you look at the paper, you don't do 40 hours of giving me white, give me black, give me white, or give me black. It's 40 hours because they were institutionalized. So over 80 hours per 5 days, so they were institutionalized. But people don't understand this. So some of the misconception come because within our field, we do not understand how we impact with others and in other cultures beyond the US-based models of intervention.
Absolutely.
So most of the debate I have, and I have a lot of very good friends between psychiatrists, child psychiatrists, and we have been discussing this, because if you look at what you get from that model, it cannot be applied in Italy. So they say, no, we cannot apply ABA. But we have worked, for example, with low intensity models, a different way of implementing ABA. One could be at distance intervention with technology, with or without technology. There are tons of models, and models are therapy. Models of intervention are fundamental. It's part of the therapy, the way you organize the intervention. So it's not a question of number of hours, and there are lots of misconception, misinterpretation, misunderstanding come from the fact that we are not able to talk outside our field.
Exactly.
And we are not able to understand where what we are talking about comes from. There is a whole world that can benefit from our science.
Absolutely.
But there are distinctions to be made in this way. So I usually, so coming to your question, and sorry if I had this
that's the context.
long answer, but coming again, all the things that I usually tackle it is to distinguish between the principles, the way they are applied, and I spoke usually about different levels. It's like medicine. So you have the chemistry that dictates how to build a pill. Then you have how to administer the pill, the dosage of the pill in days. But you can also have an organization that supports therapy, and it's part of the therapy. And for example, going back to the health system, the US are completely different from European organization and so on. And this is part of therapy. So if medicine is it's a good way to deal with this problem, so if ABA is a good way to deal with this problem, how do we apply it in our context in a way that it's human-centered, compassionate, and effective with the resources that we have? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Nanni, I love that so much. I mean, Christy, how many conversations have we had offline about this?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I want to write that down. Human-centered, compassionate, and effective, right? Because that's really the key. And you say it is the model that we use in the United States that is problematic. And that's because it isn't human-centered and it isn't compassionate, and it should be. And I think that, right, we focus on efficacy a lot of times, but sometimes not even sometimes not even the efficacy.
Yeah.
But I think we get focused on the efficacy and we forget the human-centered and compassionate part so often, because things become very transactional. Like even in the way that I learned to apply ABA, it was very transactional, right? Like this many hours, this many tries, this many times of doing a thing is going to bring you this kind of result. You have to do it 3 times at this level and then you can move up to the next level. It was very transactional, but we don't live in a transactional way. That's not how we function in life. There's so much in our, US based thinking that's transactional, but that doesn't apply to life in any real positive way. And I was talking with a friend this morning, actually, we were talking about an ABA situation that she was having as a supervisor. And she was like, yeah, they want to take the kid out because they want the kid to live a quote unquote normal life. And I was like, right, but what is quote unquote normal? Like, we need to talk about the quality of life for the child. And what does quality of life mean? For the parent, they were talking about a normal school experience. And I was like, but what does normal mean to them, right? For them, it meant going to a regular school, not going to a special, which I hate that word, but a special school. But now, if I were looking at my child, I want my child to experience love, acceptance, adventure, fun, like, are they going to experience that more in a traditional American school, or are they going to experience that more in the quote unquote special school where more of their peers who are on the same academic and social potentially level are? So I'm thinking about it from the child's quality of life perspective. They're thinking about it from a transactional sort of perspective, right? Like, my kid has to interact in these ways or they're not functioning. And I'm thinking, no, my child has to enjoy their life or they're not functioning. And I think like that's 2 ways of looking at the world. And maybe that's maybe that's kind of what you're talking about a little bit. Like, the Italian way of looking at life is a different kind of way of looking at life than the American way of looking at life. And how do we start to have the conversation across those cultures, And even my culture of thinking was different than these parents' culture of thinking, right? Like, I want my child to enjoy things. I don't care which school they go to. I just want them to experience things in a way that brings them positive stuff.
And I think that's something, Nanni, that I like about kind of the model you're talking about of, okay, if we're trying to centralize this, of who are the people that we're trying to bring together to create this quality of life that this person wants. And it's not this 40-hour prescriptive thing for everybody, or it's not this, very like medicalized kind of approach, but taking some of those principles, but applying it to that context of the individual and what they specifically want, and not being prescriptive, kind of like what Christy is saying. But, maybe behavior analysis is that tool to help that, but not necessarily the end all be all, because not everybody's going to be on board with that or should have that. I mean, just like any kind of treatment anywhere, it's not going to be perfect for everybody. and it should be part of a package that ultimately is led to that person's life moving in a direction that they want it to. And I think kind of the model that you're suggesting seems more like that, seems more like, let's support the individual and the family in their context to move in a way that makes sense for them.
The model I'm thinking, it's the model we have been working with many people in Italy. It's a value-centered model. And usually it's about the person that you want to be. So how do you help someone to be in a condition to choose? It's not only self-determination. It's about my dreams. How do you help them to dream? How do you help them to understand what they want to be in life? How do you help them understand what they want to be with their personal resources? How do you give them chances to increase their personal resources? In fact, I'm working with many. We are starting a project to understand how you help autistic individual from this point of view, using work, for example, there are a number of examples now that are national cases here in Italy, like a place it's called Pizza Out, which is a pizza place. Actually, there are two now pizza places. And from the person who makes the dough, makes the pizza, and the waiters, they are all autistic people. There is a famous place here close to my university, right in the middle of Sicily, so in the middle of nowhere. There is a bar that is run by autistic people. There is a tortellini place close to Modena where they employ 40, I say 40, autistic individual, and they do tortellini. It's called Il Totrellante, and for those who know who are not fan of food, they do tortellini for a 3-star Michelin restaurant.
Exactly. And I know other organizations like I Ragazzi di Sipario a Firenze.
Okay, there are really, Rocco. There are many. There is a
so many.
Sospiro in it's close to Cremona, which have a huge land, acres of land, and they are doing very good products from jam, marmalade, vegetables, and so on. And so, how do you help them? So this is what ABA is for. It's to help them grow in a way where self-determination is not something that, it's something that you can imagine at different level, okay? But it's about free operant. So where you direct in a free operant context your behavior. It means that you have tons of reinforcers around you and you can freely choose the reinforcement you want to get. Even very sophisticated reinforcers like reading or playing music, for example. Or enjoying organizing a birthday party. I always remember this nice case. It's one of the pieces of my heart. There was this boy I had the chance to know when he was 3, and he was very successful in ABA early intervention. Then we worked with ACT to help him on psychological flexibility and to build his own identity. And when he was around 12, he decided that he wanted to organize his own birthday party. And he organized it from scratch. And what was nice was that he told his parents to go in their room, and then he closed their room and say, "You stay here till the end of the party. I will organize everything." And everything went well. I mean, his mother is always anxious and so wonderful woman, but it's very nice that he wanted to be himself. He knew he was different from his friends, but that was part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing himself to be different and be with his friends and enjoying the evening birthday party.
And that is stunning. I think that's the focus of that. You know, at least in the US, there's a lot of work programs or social programs that do become very like robotic and prescriptive, and this is the quote unquote right way, right? And
this is the issue. It's the robotic issue, and this is where critics of ABA, I think, they have a good point.
Absolutely.
We do a lot of robotic training.
Yes.
But ABA is not this. I think ABA is not to create robots.
Exactly.
There is nothing in the science that creates robots. Nothing.
Exactly.
I agree.
It's the way we apply it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And I find
robotic.
it refreshing to hear you say so, because I feel like I've been saying this for a really long time. Like I dropped out of my PhD for this reason, because I felt like I couldn't find an avenue that let me sort of explore that and say, no, I want to focus on acceptance and commitment therapy. I want to focus on people just having the choice to say, I don't want to practice that today, Christy. I want to do this today. I have these goals. These are my goals as an autistic person, or to not work with autistic people at all, like to do what you're doing in many ways. Like I want to talk to lawmakers about how this can affect their field of study. And like, it's just really interesting because, I feel like there was so much pressure to sort of like squeeze ABA down into this one tiny little pinpoint of focus that was, no, what we do here is we get autistic kids to function like they're normal kids. And I was like, that's not my job. I don't want that to be my job. I don't ever want that to be a job that anyone does. And, later, now this year, I've been discovering all of these autistic traits in myself and starting to understand, I'm probably autistic. No wonder I react badly to people going, oh, you're an autistic person. You're very different. Let's push you into a box and make you behave in particular ways, because that is very, resonant of kind of like my own history. And I'm starting to see how that kicks up for me. Like I would have loved to put my parents in their room and close the door and act like myself for a party. Like that would have been amazing.
Well, and I think that's, as a, someone who's been at that level of like educating graduate level folks and like talking about these things and talking about these issues in class and saying, and they're like, yes, that's awesome. We should be more inclusive, but the only experiences I have available to me are the people that are sitting at the tables and doing all these things. And, there have been organizations in and around Chicago that try to do more of an inclusive approach and do more of a collaborative, there's a couple hospital situations we have out here as well, where ABA is like in that team that says, okay, what is the goal that we're trying to achieve here as led by the person? And the behavior analyst says, cool, here's some ways we can measure that. Here's some considerations, but they're not saying that like, here's the prescription. But then what ends up happening is the only things that are available to a lot of our students are that more prescriptive approach, and that becomes very difficult.
The issue, Rocco, is again with the organization
Absolutely.
and training.
Yep.
To
Absolutely.
go along the path that Christy was telling before, what you need is a well-trained person that understands the way on how to balance control of the training versus freedom of choice without letting being in anarchy in a way that the person doesn't learn anything about his or her own experience. But to understand this, you should have tons of training. So, for example, what's missing in an ABA training is the clinical part. Most of my therapists have a master's degree in psychology, 2 or 3 years of education in ABA, which is distinct from, and some of them I try to adjust them into psychotherapy as a way to train in clinical understanding and acceptance and commitment therapy. Because a clinical eye is completely different when you are in that kind of situation where you understand how to manage or slightly push versus leaving some degree of freedom to explore the consequences of, or the natural consequences of your action. You need a lot of training, Rocco. You cannot do that with 40 hours of training.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so if the model is built on that fact, the only way that people who have 40 hours of training can work is to follow rigid rules. You do this for, and you that, this, that, this, that. You don't do this, supervise, this, that. This is the rigidity. And so everyone that is in that mechanism is grown with rigidity. For example, in our system, IESCUM system, we rarely use technicians for therapists.
Absolutely.
The minimum level is assistant for therapists.
Exactly.
And there is a number of subtleties here that need to be understood. You do rigid things because you are not trained. You are trained to follow a recipe.
Exactly.
You are not trained in science.
Exactly. And then we have a lot of technicians and not scientists approaching this. And then the people that have the most training are not the ones doing the work. Yeah.
And in addition, ABA is about working on moment by moment contingency. It's not about applying. It's not about applying recipes. Exactly. And the other issue, which is a big political mistake that creates this situation, is bringing behavior analysis outside as an independent field. Because people are not trained in psychology anymore. Yes. People that comes from education don't understand the things, not because they are stupid, it's because they are not being trained. And the paradox here is, for example, that this model has implied, is that we have pilots, airplane pilots that are BCBAs, engineers and architects that are BCBAs, lawyers that are BCBAs, which if they want to study behavior analysis, I'm happy because it's to increase their culture. But they are not trained to face those situations. And some of them are consultant or are also supervisor. And the only way to work for them is to follow rigid rules. Exactly. So we are back to the problem that Christy is saying. And again, we are back to the problem that I face. Because if those are examples, then ABA is a mess where I need to apply. And they come to me and say, look at those examples, and say, you're right.
Yeah, that's a bad example.
Yeah, it's a bad example, but it happens. And how
Exactly.
you can distinguish the good examples from the bad examples is just by raising the quality of the good examples so that they become so different that people
Exactly.
understand.
And I think that's where a lot of that policy work that you talked about before would do so well. I feel like if US had better policies behind that, especially for that insurance coverage piece, because
Yeah.
if when I worked at the hospital, it was very hard to convince insurance that that was okay. And they said, no, you need to do 40 hours. And we say, no, we don't. we're on the back end as part of this team. And it was very difficult to convince insurance companies to have that service covered by insurance. And we ended up just going through the hospital a bunch of different ways that maybe I shouldn't say on the radio here, but there's, there's workarounds to things, but that goes back to your point about how if the system is set up more for that support and more that value centric piece, it seems like the other stuff falls into place of cool. Then we can do actual models and therapeutic approaches that make sense for that person and not that prescriptive rigid piece.
Yeah. The issue about prescription is because they don't have the background.
Exactly.
And certification is not the solution because they certified pilots,
Absolutely.
they certified lawyers.
Yes.
It's not the solution.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, there's only so much oversight you can do in an organization that's so small with that. So why would certification be the answer? Exactly.
I can have a driving license, but I drive so bad that I can burn the engine of the car. But I have a driving license.
Right?
Oh, but I'm certified.
I know what a stop sign looks like, and that I'm not supposed to drive over pedestrians, but I still go through the stop signs and hit pedestrians. Yes, I don't.
That's the yellow one, right? No. Oh my gosh! And so I really appreciate that input, Nanni, on there, and I think and I really, as another behavior analyst speaking to the community, please heed what Nanni says. we need to create more of those systems of success in a way that's centered around the person, because the more rigidity we practice and the more pigeonholed we do in a specific area, we miss this whole other context, and you're only being a technician applying rigid rules instead of saying, I have this, essentially as a scientist practitioner, of saying like, I have this inquiry, how do we approach this? Not let's open up the manual and see what's next.
Yeah. Rocco, I usually made that distinction between rigidity and rigor in applying science.
I like that.
We should be rigorous in applying science principles, but not rigid.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, and if we're practicing the one, then it's not likely that we'll practice the other, because if we are being rigorous and we're applying the science appropriately, then we wouldn't need to be rigid.
Of course.
Yeah.
Exactly. The dividends will be better care.
Yes, exactly. I think that makes a lot of sense to me, though. But I've switched to a holistic medicine group this past year, and like, it's funny to me that I have to choose a doctor that says they're holistic, but I have had to make that switch, and it's been life altering for me to go to a clinic that specifically says we want to look at all the parts of Christy. We don't just want to focus on her disability. We don't just want to focus on her illness. We want to focus on her as a human, and we want to make sure that she has health in all of these different areas, right? So we're going to look at her nutrition. We're going to look at her. We're also going to focus on medicine, right? Like, there are medications that I need to take. I do need pain management. I do need these things, but like, to focus on a broader, like, here's all of Christy. All of these things are factors. Her spiritual life is a factor. Her pain management is a factor. Her nutrition is a factor. How she's interacting with her community is a factor. And we want to discuss all of these. Like, that's made such a difference. And when I think about like the discussion we're having today, I feel like that's really the discussion, right? Like, how are we looking at people holistically? Are we looking at people holistically? How do we need to shape our conversation or change what we're doing in order to look at them holistically? And how does our science, maybe fit into that as one piece? I say our science as though like I'm doing anything in the science, which I'm totally not. Please don't consider me a scientist at this point, because I don't do that. I just
You're
do this
disseminating.
podcasting thing. I'm
Yeah.
disseminating. Rocco, I talk about what Rocco's doing in his field of study. Kind of, I tell people to read his papers. No, we wrote a paper. We just haven't published it yet. Eventually, I'll be doing work in the science. But sorry, tangent. There has to be at least one tangent, or it's not the Disability Tangent podcast. So there it was, right there. I think if we can figure out where we belong in that, whole, and focus on our piece of the whole pie, instead of being like, I'm going to be the pie, right? Just like, where is my slice and how do I function as the slice? And then how do I incorporate that into the whole? I think that makes a lot more sense. Like, I'm a person doing science about a person.
Going to holistic medicine, or considering the person as a whole versus considering the organ that it's problematic or disease. Again, it goes back to education, and it goes back to the system and how the system is organized. So in the US, specialization is functional. And people are hired because of specific specialization, and you have specific tasks to do in an organization. Okay, so when you go to health, for example, education, medical education, you start very early to choose your specialization. From the third year on, you do an internship and you choose very early in your specialization. But in Italy, not. Or in other European countries, you do not. You have a general degree in medicine. So you see the person as a whole, even if you study cardiology, neurology, psychiatry, and so on, but you see the person as a whole. So there is this background which is different. Dr. House is a profession, if you call it a profession. He was the only thing he was doing offering a diagnosis.
Yeah.
And the only place in the world where you need a Dr. House is the US, because you study the part of the person. What happened when I was teaching in the US is that they knew I was a doctor. So like something sometimes happens here in Italy. I'm feeling this. What is, professor? What could be? And I usually say, and I was not practicing. I couldn't practice. But I usually, well, tell your doctor could be this. So I say, how do you know that? It's because I study medicine. Because of that specialization shift or specialization way of looking at job and different kind of profession goes down up to a point where training is done in a specific level that you miss the whole picture. You are very skillful on the left foot, but not on the right one. And you miss the whole picture. So a technician could be very skillful in delivering reinforcer on time, perfect, but he misses the fact that the child is reacting in strange way. And for example, I've seen things that if you don't understand the clinical part, it was, for example, repetitive behavior, but because the child had a OCD, that was treated from the technician as a problematic behavior, but that is OCD. If you don't see that, You turn to the rigidity and you turn to the bad side of ABA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the issue.
Absolutely.
It's breaking things in small pieces. Now, for example, there are these I've seen on the ABA newsletter, micro certification.
Yes.
Hmm.
So you are an expert in token economy, the biggest expert in token. What is a micro certification? It's an economic model.
Yeah,
You see,
exactly.
so you need a
Exactly.
micro certification for what?
Yeah, to validate it. So that goes back to, and I have this huge, and
That's so
Christy,
I can
and
have a really long resume
yes.
like you without
Yeah.
having to be old.
23 letters after my name. I don't even know what half of them are.
Right? I don't even know what that means. Yeah.
But I think that goes to, and Christy, that grant that we were a part of, that we just got to build that of, if the training's better, you don't need the micro certifications, because if you're holistically trained to begin with, you don't need to validate training that you've already had, that you should have had. I completely agree with that. And maybe that's a whole nother episode of like the problem with certifications.
It probably is. And, it's weird because I use certifications because I didn't get my PhD, which is not a good use of certifications, probably. But like I'm certified in ACT, and I'm certified in a forgiveness practice, and I'm certified in happiness, and I'm certified in like all of these just for different like things. But like I'm certified in all of these smaller things because I want to add credence to what I am doing, because I don't have my PhD, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I went and I got all this training, but I didn't get letters behind my name. And in the United States, if you don't have letters behind your name,
You're
then
not
you're
taken
not
seriously. Yep.
considered important, or you have nothing valuable to say. So it's kind of one of these things where like, well, I went and I studied acceptance and commitment therapy, but nobody gave me a degree. So now what? Well, I'll go get a certification in it so that I can prove that I actually studied it, even though I did study it. It's a weird thing. It's really, and I'm buying into the system. I know that I am. It's kind of ridiculous. I should just be like, I know this. I already studied it. Like, trust me. But people don't trust you unless you have
Well, and that's that
this.
ongoing like supervision component of it too, that I think then people also wrongly think that, oh, I got the certification, I'm done now. Or, but I think about that with a lot of my graduate students that roll through. They're like, well, I have my master's in BCBA now, so I know everything. I'm like, no, you have met the minimum requirements to enter the field. Mm-hmm. You still need you still need supervision. You still need that second piece now.
People forget this.
Yeah. I've met people
Minimum
that don't study.
requirements.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like they don't read papers. I'll say this or that, and they'll be like, well, where did you read that? I'm like, well, so-and-so published it. It's on ResearchGate. And they're like, what's ResearchGate? And I'm like, what? You don't know
You're like,
where to find papers? Like you don't subscribe to any
did you just
journals. You
stop your
don't know where to
education?
find papers. Like you quit studying as soon as you got
Exactly.
out of school. And so how do you know anything that's changed in your field of study? So they may have been out of school for 12 years and they don't do any study. They go to a conference once a year to get their ethics credit or whatever so they can keep their certification, and that's all they do, and there's no further learning. And that is dangerous as well, because then not only are you not like becoming better, but like the science has changed. We know more about the science. Like if you're applying the rigor, like you say, like then we have to be continually doing that. You can't have applied science that we learned 12 years ago to today. Like that doesn't make sense. We've learned more stuff, believe it or not. Someone studied some stuff in the last 12 years.
What? Well, and Nanni, what were you saying about that with the certifications before, like the credentialing piece? I think
the issue is that people think that is the gold medal. You are the hero, so you put your gold medal here, and you know everything. And what I usually tell people that is that I have been studying behavior analysis for 44, 45 years now, and I still don't know anything. I mean, I in behavior analysis, like any other area of knowledge, I know a lot about verbal behavior because that is my interest. I know a lot of things, but for example, I haven't deepened into matching law, for example. If I do behavioral economic studies, it's something that you want to learn about. And there are tons of things that I haven't deepened into. I'm not an expert of. Okay. So that is the certification is about the minimum professional requirements. So something that you can enter the profession now, minimum. But it's not that you are not an expert.
I'm able to enter the grocery store. Doesn't mean I know how to cook a good meal.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that sentiment, Nanni. You saying, I mean, you've been doing this for a few decades, and you're like, okay, well, there's still whole areas and whole swaths I don't know about this, but you're also searching for that information too. Even now, you're not saying, and you're saying like, oh, I want to sit back and write my book and that. But even now, Nanni, I mean, you're like, oh, I'm really interested in this. Let's go talk with another group that knows how to do this. I want to know how to do this from people that know what they're doing. And that's really, really cool to see. And I think that's an excellent model to follow.
Yeah, the issue is that because of this way of teaching, and because of the rigidity and so on, we are feeding religion, not science. It's kind of a religious attitude. This is the gospel. It's science. It's not religion. But this is the gospel. So you have to be rigid because it's the gospel. Skinner told us, yeah, but Skinner had, it's my personal hero. I have books signed by Skinner. And his model was rooted in studies of the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Okay. But we are 70 years later, and we have progressed in so many fields that Skinner himself would have said, look, this is the progress of our field.
Absolutely.
He wrote about the feelings. He said that emotions, he neglected study emotions. So in one of his writings, his last writings, he said probably one of the biggest mistake or something that I neglected during my research career was studying emotions. Skinner taught this.
Upon further reflections,
It's behavior analysis. We don't talk about emotions.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good point, though. It reminds me, when I was in school at a religious college, I took a course on Calvin's Institutes, and the teachers, I said something about, well, that doesn't make any sense. And the teacher was like, do you think that you're better at, understanding scripture than John Calvin? And I was like, yes. Like, John Calvin was a 29-year-old man who lived hundreds of years ago. Like, I don't think that he was necessarily the best, person who ever looked at the scripture and made choices. Like, did he have wise things to say? Yes. Was he the best person ever at theology? No.
Maybe at the time he was pretty good, but that was a different context, right?
I'm like, I'm not going to turn him into a saint. Like, I think that there were probably errors in his ways. Like, there were definitely things that like, even though I would say, like, oh, this is a leader in the field of, reformational theology, I'm not going to be like, yes, everything that he said is correct all of the time. And so it's the same thing, where like you pick a person that was somewhere in the field and you're like, yes, they are the person that I am going to like, here's where I'm going to stake my claim, and I'm not going to veer from it at all. And I think like there's good things about that, being like, oh, I follow this person and this is my theory of stuff. But like, also you have to understand that like that person made errors in judgment as well. Like like it's never, the work is not done. And
Yeah, here's the underpinnings, but we're not, beatifying the people. We're saying like, generally I approach it this way, but if something changes and it doesn't work, I'm also flexible enough that I can change my own perspective.
And I feel like those scientists that came before us would probably be a little bit ashamed of us being like, oh no, Skinner said X and I will not diverge from it. Because I feel like if they had come up against a problem and then, did some experiments and found like, oh no, actually I was wrong. The data says this. I feel like they would have followed the data, not their own.
I had a situation like that earlier this year. There was a dissertation committee I was on where someone was replicating one of my studies, and there was another study that we did where I wasn't the first author on it. And they were saying like, well, the authors actually thought this about the study. And I'm like, no, that's not what they said. And the student argued with me where they're like, no, they actually did it in this way. I'm like, did you see who the authors were? I'm on there. We didn't
like,
think
I'm
that.
the
Yeah,
author.
like guys, what happened here? And it makes me think, how many times have we ascribed meaning or pulled validation from people who aren't there to defend themselves and say that this is the right way to do it. And it was a very humbling experience to see that, where it's like, uh-oh, people do this, and people take that perspective and ascribe leadership and authority in places that maybe they don't totally understand.
That's so funny. Now I'm thinking, who's gonna apply sainthood to Rocco someday? Rocco,
no. There's already a Saint Rocco. It's fine. The patron saint of the sick. We're good. That's good. Send it to him. Oh my gosh. Well, and not kind of thinking about some of these things, and hearing all the interests that you have and ways that you've kind of explored this over your career. What are some maybe just emerging trends in disability or topics that have really excited you recently? Like what's keeping you up at night wanting to search answers?
Novels.
No. Excellent.
Well, it's not about disability, but this is what I have now on my desk.
Behavioral economics and
because
the environment.
We are writing this paper with some people from the economic department on a more behavioral analytic oriented approach to behavioral economics, because behavioral economics is mainly based in cognitive theories. And the behavioral vision is less considered in behavioral economics. And you see, for example, let me see if I can get the paper here. They are talking about pay-as-you-throw programs for residential solid waste collection. And they say that the effectiveness of these programs is still debated. And there is empirical evidence in some countries that provide support for this hypothesis. And they say that, for example, UBP system in Charlottesville, Virginia, has stimulated the illegal dumping, which constitutes 20% of the total waste reduction.
Wow.
So it's reduced because they have illegal dumping. And so these people these economists and also happens in Hong Kong. No, in Korea, not in Hong Kong. And they are always they are looking for the way it can be understandable. And this is the reason why they need to do behavior analysis, because if you punish someone, there is avoidance. This is a simple case of avoidance.
They're like, look, it worked. It's like, well,
pay taxes. No, let's dump the waste.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm thinking about particular neighborhoods in Chicago that would just be overrun with dumping if that were the case, because there's so many empty lots, and they would just, there would be construction dumping. There already is dumping in some of those empty spaces, and I can think about what a problem that would create for the city and for some of those areas. Oh my gosh, yeah. But you're right, that makes total sense. Of course, there would be avoidance.
One of the issue that it's challenging to me is how we scale behavioral analytic based intervention in ways that can be implemented in cities, town, countries, and these are challenges because most of our models are on a one-to-one basis. Where the behavioral analytic model failed was when psychiatric people were brought outside the institution because they couldn't do a one-to-one based intervention outside the psychiatric institution. And we need to understand how we can scale up these things, what we can learn and tell other people from other fields. So if you are interested in what I am doing right now, it's not for disability, because that is, it's something that it's clear. It's how we expand our science, how we expand. And we forget a lot of things, because these things, there is a interesting book that was, I think it goes back to I'm not sure about the date. I think it's the end of the 80s, that was written by Steve Hayes. Environmental Problems and Behavioral Solutions. So 40 years later, 35 years later, why those solutions are not implemented?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's because of our languaging about behavior. It's because we have focused only in attractive and economically attractive fields. There is tons of money in all this. And so this is the thing. The second thing I am interested, going back to disability, is the post-early intervention programs. We are too much focused in our fields on early intervention, probably because this is again the economical model driving the forces in the US, the education staff or the programming or the intervention. But what we do after the early intervention? Where are the data? And the data are very saddening, because, for example, the published data on the long run is that what we have gained in early intervention from ABA intervention is lost during, it's maintained, but the difference between non-autistic population, the autistic population, which was reduced at the end of the early intervention, increases again. Why?
What happened? Yeah, exactly.
It's because we are not doing anything. Because again, the model in US is about early intervention, 2 or 3 years of intervention, and then good luck.
And then nothing. Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of stuff that can be done with our science in the post-early intervention. And it's needed because, for example, the risk of comorbidity between in adolescents and young adults is 6 to 10 times more than non-autistic population. And this is something we can prevent just by continuing in applying our science. And this is about flexibility, about psychological flexibility, and the way you deal with your own self and with the context around you. So this is another thing that makes me staying up late at night, trying to write and to create research around this.
Yeah, and incite action, right? To, we see these things, and I think, Christy and I have had this conversation many times about, at least in behavior analysis, and I'm sure it's like this in other fields in some ways as well. And it seems like every 5 years there's the same 3 call to actions of we need to do something about this. Let's do something about this. And then 3 or 5 years later, it's the same thing again. It's like, well, what happened?
Because we didn't do anything about it. Yeah.
They published the call to action paper. They did 3 publications about it. They went to a conference. They said, hey, look, I'm saying the important things. And then they're there again, having not done the work. But some people are. And it's just very interesting to see that. So, Nanni, I mean, kind of to, wrap up at the end here, but what are some of your future plans for the program that you're in now and the students you have? What are some of the
well, I have a lot of plans. First of all, retiring, but
beautiful.
No, I
Excellent
think I told you I'm in that part of the career where I can do whatever I dream. I have a lot of collaboration. So the collaboration with this huge programs on using technology, robots, different kind of technology. Today we have discussed on a meeting, I come from this meeting with a big hospital in Italy. We have recently won a grant to develop intervention for prevention of mental declining in aging people. So we are going to apply both ACT and RFT-based training. It comes from one of our pilot studies where the smart training that is known for increasing IQ in elementary school children was used to counteract the effect of dementia in elder patients treated with cholinesterase inhibitors, and it worked very well. And so we are trying to replicate this and embed it in a more broader intervention using robots and using technology, virtual reality. So applying behavioral analytic based intervention and CBS-based intervention in this area of aging, and also in prevention of depression or other mental. It's more to increase mental well-being after retiring. So I'm working for my future. There is also kind of another quite interesting development. We have been working in the last year with scientists all over Europe to use pro-social ACT-derived training to increase communication between teams. Because one of the things that happens in science is that people don't, biologists don't talk with physicists. Or, economists don't talk with psychology. My colleagues of the economic department I'm working with, they always say we are the true behavioral and economic because we have psychology in our team because other teams don't have psychologists, which is strange, by the way. We took part of this big European funding scheme that is called ATTRACT. ATTRACT funds the biggest labs in Europe, like the Max Planck or the CERN in Geneva. And one of the issues they had, for example, at CERN in Geneva, is that some of their, or at Max Planck, some of their outstanding and groundbreaking research took 15 to 20 years to be incorporated in other fields and to produce something that is interesting and available for everyone. So how do we shorten this process and increase communication between fields? And we apply that to lower cognitive barriers to communication between researchers. This is something that was interesting, and we are going to present our data. My colleagues at the University of Bologna will present the first data right now in September in Barcelona and later in January in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And this is quite an interesting development in my project. And still we are working on a very short ACT protocol, 3 sessions. Can we do it? It's been demonstrated you can do it on a one-to-one basis, but we studied in a group format. So what happens for a short version in group format? Can we do it with a technology? And this also brings intervention to everyone. I'm thinking there is a big, huge barrier, economical barrier to mental well-being just because of the costs of going to a psychotherapist or searching for help. So what happens if we have technology to at least reduce and favor access to help? Can select people on the basis of those who respond to technology and those who don't respond to technology, so that we have resources, human resources for those who don't respond to technology and still help them. You mentioned, Christy, is about pain management, and ACT has being proved to be very effective in pain management. So what we can do if we use technology, I think I have still some years to retire, but full of activities. And these are some of my most cutting edge the frontiers, the boundaries that I want to explore, in addition to the many others that we are doing. For example, PBT, process-based therapy. So I've been, there are some of my students who have collected data, and we are we're processing those data, and it can also be interesting, that part that brings back the old behavior analytic way of looking at the human processes in the main psychotherapy field. So it will be quite interesting to play this game.
That's amazing, and I love the kind of like decentralization, or like removing the silos between fields and scientific, inquiry paths, because I've noticed, I mean, especially obviously within behavior analysis, because that's mostly where I'm operating at this particular time, of, those calls to action, those new things that are popping up. And, a lot of my training has been in anthropology and in social psychology, even before coming to behavior analysis. And I'm like, well, we already have a model for that. Or like, if you look at disability studies, there's already models that have been in place. And I feel like, behavior analysis was saying like, oh, here's this new thing, we're pushing this forward, this is great. It's like, no, this has been around since the 60s, since 70s, 80s. And we could have progressed so much faster if it started at that time. And I think the field would look so much different if that was already having some of that cross-pollination. But I'm very glad that there's something like that on there. And I'm probably going to contact you about that separately, because I'm really interested to see like where that goes. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And it does sound like it will be a while before you retire. You have a lot to do. You have a lot you're doing.
Yes.
And still reading the novels, so that's good.
I'm still reading the novels. I'm listening to
I-
music.
Perfect.
There you go. I listen to music while I do the work. That I think helps. Yeah.
Nanni, grazie mille per il supporto e fornite nella comunità del campo. Like, I'm so proud of just the work that you do and the support and the models that you provide to bring people with you and provide a new way of thinking. It's wonderful knowing you, and I'm so happy that you were able to come on today and talk with us about the work you do.
Thank you very much, Christy and Rocco. It was my pleasure and honor to talk to you. It was very fun, and I was really comfortable in this conversation. And whoever listened to it, I would like to please forgive my bad English. I've tried to do my best for making me understand. So,
yeah,
I was going to say, I think it was better than mine, so that's good.
Thank you, Christy. It's very kind of both of you.
I know. I often struggle with English, and it's my only language. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
As hosts of the Disability Tangent podcast, we love hearing from our listeners. Your thoughts, feedback, and questions are what keep our podcast going and growing.
So if you've been inspired, moved, or even challenged by anything you've heard on our show, we want to hear from you. Share your stories, your insights, and your questions with us by emailing disabilitytangent@gmail.com.
Whether you're sharing a personal story, suggesting a topic for a future episode, or simply want to say hello, we're here and ready to listen.
So don't be shy. Drop us an email at disabilitytangent@gmail.com, and let's keep the conversation going.
That's all for today, folks. Until next time, remember to stay engaged, stay curious, and above all, stay connected. Thank you for listening.
I've made a lot of hand gestures.
I was going to say, for those not watching the video,
it's the Italian influence.
I am so sorry. I am doing so many hand things right now. I don't know why.
It's the Italian virus. We always do gestures, so we have contaminated you.